All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Hildreth Media YouTube channel. Today, we're diving back into the Idaho 4 case, but this time, I want to show you guys. I'm on a busy street. I want to show you guys the absolute mental gymnastics that you must do in order to believe anything that comes out of the state of Idaho and the prosecution team. So, I was able to find a couple of useful low IQ individuals to walk through what they believe happened and why it makes absolutely no sense. Let's walk through this, shall we?
New details reveal the order in which the victims were attacked just got flipped.
Oh boy.
The new 2020 that aired last night, one of the investigators reveal they don't believe that Xana was the third victim.
We have people believing Xana's the first. You can believe what you want. It's all a conspiracy at this point.
One of the lead investigators, Darren Gilbertson, stated
A useful idiot.
that he believes the person Dylan heard say someone's in here was actually Xana. He stated that
Okay, so here's yet another issue here. You're telling me that Dylan would not be able to decipher Xana's voice and Kaylee's voice? They've lived together for months at this point. Dylan wouldn't be able to pick out who's who just by the voice. I mean, that's a problem.
that shortly after picking up that DoorDash order, she went to her room, got on her phone, and was on TikTok until about 4:12 a.m.
That's nothing new. Which, you still have questions about the DoorDash. Which, if you guys go back and look at the body cam footage, I know it's grainy and it's hard to see, but I don't see the Jack in the Box bag. I don't see it.
He said that she likely heard the commotion upstairs, ran up the stairs, saw what was happening, yelled, "Someone's in here," and that's who Dylan heard run back down the stairs.
Now, there are serious problems with the actual chase scene that they're trying to manufacture that happened. And I'm going to show you somebody who has a very not great theory, because we're going to pick that one apart too. But this chase scene never happened. The blood drops in Kaylee and Maddie's room suggest that he was not chasing, he was not giving chase to Xana in this chase scenario. He was slow. He was methodical. It was a guy on Truth and Transparency, Scott Roeder, I think his name is. He said it was a Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers type slow moving. This was slow and with intent. There wasn't a chase.
Now, here's what I found interesting, the way that he said this. He was talking about when Xana came back downstairs, that they believe that he attacked Ethan to incapacitate him from intervening. Remember that Dylan heard someone in the bathroom on the second floor crying? Well, that was Xana. Based on Darren Gilbertson's interview, I believe Xana went upstairs, saw what was happening, ran back downstairs, and locked herself or barricaded herself in that bathroom.
Okay, so now we have a whole new host of problems here. So you're telling me who we believe is Bryan Kohberger. Well, or forced to believe that it's Bryan Kohberger. But anyway, he went through the whole effort of forcing Xana's bathroom door open to take her out. But then stares Dylan directly in the eyes and then turns around and walks out the door. We're, we're really supposed to believe that? Like, here's the thing with these, with a lot of these, people that believe that Kohberger is guilty. You have to do so many mental gymnastics to get there. That it's not even funny.
Room. Kohberger then attacks Ethan, and that's when Dylan hears him say, "Don't worry, I'm here to help you," to Xana.
Or Dylan was watching Vampire Diaries. Because that is a line in Vampire Diaries in which they were watching that night. Allegedly.
Now, it's long been believed that Madison Mogen was the first victim, then Kaylee, then Xana, then Ethan.
No, mainstream media believes that. Alternate media, which what you're on, and you clearly do not follow. There are people that believe it was Anna and Ethan first, that were taken out first. It was Keely and Maddie second or third and fourth. I mean, we don't know the order of which it happened, and to suggest at this current juncture that it's only one person is utterly insane. Because there's people out there that believe that it was all at the same time. So there's no predominant narrative in this.
However, based on that interview and the evidence that was collected, they do believe that Ethan was the third victim. So
what evidence do they have to suggest that Ethan is? Because they can't use the knife. They decided to not compel Kohberger to say anything on where that could possibly be.
So what are your all's thoughts? Do you think this makes more sense than the original theory? I certainly do.
Makes more sense. What do you mean makes more sense? So, you believe Kohberger went through all the effort to get through a barricaded door to take out Xana, looks Dylan directly in the eyes, with the door wide open, with her in frozen shock phase, and just walks out the door. That makes more sense? Come on now. Can we please stop with the mental gymnastics? And then we got Riley Lou News on why the ping pong table, well, the beer pong table, it's not a ping pong, wasn't moved. Because if this chase would have happened, that table undoubtedly gets flipped over, thrown around. It is not in pristine condition. Let's take a look.
The question that keeps being asked on the Idaho 4 murders is how was the ping pong table undisturbed because it was blocking the hallway?
It was.
And I'll admit, I had questioned this too until I looked at
Doubt it.
little bit deeper. Okay, so this is a layout of the second floor. There's the kitchen where he entered through the sliding glass door. So he would have came in through here, through this opening, and then went up the stairs. As for Kohberger, he never needed to go past the ping pong table.
The ping pong table is right down there. And there were bodies found over here. How would he have possibly got from here to there without going anywhere near the ping pong table or the beer pong table?
Xana is in bedroom C, so she would have came through the living room, through the hallway, up the stairs, and back down the stairs to her bedroom when she realized what was happening. Dylan is in bedroom D because there she can see when he exits through the kitchen and through the sliding glass door.
Well, she's not seeing him exit through the sliding glass door. But anyway.
And when she left her bedroom, she would have ran past Xana's room where she says she saw her laying on the floor, down the stairway to the first floor to Bethany's room. Here are the crime scene photos taken immediately after officers arrived on scene, pretty much. Nothing was moved. We see the living room, and then right here, past the ping pong table, is the hallway that leads to the stairs. Here's a better view of it. You can see it does look like it's blocking the hallway a bit, but there's still some room to go around it.
What do you mean, room to go around it? A genuine curiosity.
Right? You could possibly even argue that she did bump into it and that these cups were knocked over.
Oh, okay, if you bumped into that table, everything is coming down. Come on.
And were originally stacked like the ones on the other end. She just hit this end. Now, here's the body cam footage when they first arrive on scene. The ping pong table, and they walk around it. Here they're going upstairs to...
Yes, they walked around it. Keyword, walked.
Kaylee and Maddie's room, and you can see the kitchen. Again, Kohberger never needed to go past the ping pong table because he just came in this way. And
again, he has to get to Xana's room. The only way to get to Xana's room is going by that beer pong table.
Side note, this to me shows that he absolutely had a target of either Maddie or Kaylee because it does not make any sense whatsoever that he comes in through the sliding glass door and doesn't check the room right here, literally right there in front of where he would have walked in, which is Dylan's room. Instead, he purposely goes up the stairs. Anyways, we see the officers, they get around it, no problem. Here is Dylan's room.
Again, they are walking around it carefully.
This is the supply closet and the stairs to Kaylee and Maddie's room. Okay, here they are coming down the stairs. This is what Xana would have been looking at. As you can see, it looks like there is a lot more space and room to get around the ping pong table without knocking it over.
Again, you are... In this theory, Xana would be in a full sprint.
Especially right here, it shows just how far it actually is. Here they are again at the actual entranceway, and look, it looks like there's at least 3 feet of space right there. She could have easily ran around that without ever touching it, but again...
The vibrations of the running. If this chase scene happened, which there's no evidence to suggest that it did, other than Dylan saying it. And we all know how non-credible she is.
And maybe those cups were sitting upright and she did hit it.
Again, if she would have hit the table, everything's coming down. That table is flipped over.
This is the confusing thing for me. He would have taken this route to leave back out.
Going right next the beer pong table. You just said at the beginning of this, he wouldn't have had to go by the beer pong table. And yet, here is your route, going right by the beer pong table. It is over here.
The sliding glass door. I'm curious at what point Dylan was able to see him face to face. I believe what she said.
Right there! Going right next to Dylan's room.
Says, I don't think she's guilty whatsoever. They're victims too. And if he would have seen her, she would have been killed too.
So, you completely believe her, but say that she's lying about getting face-to-face with Kohberger.
I don't understand if I'm getting his path wrong. Either way.
There isn't another path. I mean, There's not a portal in Xana and Ethan's room that leads you out the back door.
Way to me, this makes sense as to why she was able to go past the ping pong table without knocking anything over. And
Again, I'm gonna hammer this home. Xana would have been in a full dead sprint using logic. It would have absolutely disturbed the table. And then, in your theory, Kohberger is giving full chase. And that's even more weight tumbling around because he would have been in a dead sprint.
it shows that maybe she did knock stuff over. A question that keeps being asked on the Idaho 4 murders is how was the
I mean, it is absolutely insane, the mental gymnastics that you have to go through to be able to be able to fit this square peg in this round hole. I mean, oh yeah, a full chase happened right next to the beer pong table, but it wasn't intense enough to where it wouldn't have knocked over the table. And you would also have to factor in that Xana decided, after seeing her friends getting murdered, that she ran towards the dead end. She willingly cornered herself instead of going down the flight of stairs and out the front door. There are so many things here that just doesn't make sense. And here you have people that are going off of the mainstream media that are completely okay with the mental gymnastics in this to accept this theory, even though none of it adds up. I've looked through some of her videos, and there is no mention, at least of the videos that I have seen, of bringing up the blood that was on the back of the knife sheath that does not come back to Bryan Kohberger. So the news part of her name, of her username, is false. She's not news. She's just regurgitating what Nancy Disgrace, Ashley Band full of shit, what Brian Enton, I haven't come up with ever yet, but she is just believing the gospel of what they are saying, and they are believing the gospel of what Dylan is saying, despite what Dylan is saying does not add up. And to tie everything together in a nice little bow, and I'll leave it with this: that I found out for sure on Dago's channel, which will be linked below. He is absolutely incredible. But Dylan was the catalyst for Kaylee coming home. Dylan was the catalyst for Maddie staying at 1120 King Road that weekend. Seems a little suspicious. Because whoever actually did this had to have been close enough if Maddie or Kaylee were the targets. And again, we don't know who the targets are. But if it was Kaylee and Maddie that were the targets, they would have had to have been close enough to know that Kaylee and Maddie were going to be there in this short notice change of mind with Kaylee coming back and Maddie not leaving. So, and I don't know, you may have mentioned it, but I haven't seen anything where she's mentioned it. But it just doesn't add up. Other than either Dylan had some sort of involvement and was the catalyst for this, or you have the undercover police officers that were involved in it, and Moscow PD and ISP are playing cover-up to protect the Good Old Boys Club. I mean, make it make sense, because all the evidence that we've seen does not tie back to Kohberger. And if you look at some of the things she has said about Kohberger, actually, I got one more. We'll do one more. So what would have happened if this case would have went to trial? Ladies and gentlemen. Oh, buckle up for this one.
Court case went to trial, would Dylan Mortensen have been a credible witness?
No, you wouldn't have. There was, with what we know in the documents, which they could be wrong. I mean, the report that what's his nuts? I forgot his name. The veteran officer who decides to wait 9 months to a year to write up his reports had Bethany's interview completely twisted.
Before we get into this, I'm going to start out by saying I do not believe for a second Dylan or Bethany had any part of this.
You gotta add that caveat because you want to be a part of the good guys.
Whatsoever. They are victims.
Because you gotta fit the narrative.
Just like everyone else. And if Bryan Kohberger would have seen them, I truly believe they would have ended up dead too. Now, Dylan specifically, she wasn't.
Wait. Hey.
They would have ended up dead too. Now, would have seen them, I truly believe they would have.
Okay, so you don't believe Dylan's story that they went face to face.
Ended up dead too. Now, Dylan specifically, she was an eyewitness. She saw Bryan Kohberger.
No, she saw somebody in a mask. Watch the body cam footage.
Statements throughout the entire case remained pretty consistent.
Again, we'd have to see the actual footage of Dylan's interviews to confirm, because, again, Moscow PD is absolutely horrific at writing up police reports that are accurate. But stories changed multiple times.
People get too caught up in that the beginning she said she thought it was Kaylee that she was hearing, but then later realized that it was Xana.
Which, if you cannot tell voices apart, that is a problem.
Keep in mind, they hadn't lived together very long. She didn't even know how to spell half of their names.
I mean, it's, 3-6 months at that point? I mean, come on now.
Beyond that, she stayed pretty consistent. However, every single detail would have been absolutely torn apart by the defense. If even one juror would have had any kind of reasonable doubt about Dylan's testimony or anything else,
anybody with a functioning brain would have reasonable doubt.
For that matter, that could have changed the entire outcome of the case. And they most likely would have picked apart just how reliable her glimpse of Bryan Kohberger would have been.
Which is not. In the original body cam footage, she says, she doesn't even mention bushy eyebrows.
Up here is Xana's room. So after Bryan left Xana's room, he came back through here and left out the sliding glass door. We know this because Dylan says she opened her door and saw him. She says she actually made eye contact with him even. And unless there is a different route that I am not realizing that you can go from Xana's room.
Again, it must have been that portal and underneath him.
To the sliding glass door, I don't see how she could have made direct eye contact with him. He would have been coming this way.
So you don't believe Dylan's story?
And probably focusing on the exit unless he was glancing over at her room. Which then you wonder, why didn't he see her? Visual snow? He just wasn't paying attention? He had tunnel vision?
Or he saw Dylan and elected not to because of a litany of reasons.
Or maybe he did see her and thought she was calling 911, so wanted to get out of there. Either way, the defense would have absolutely...
Which he wasn't running out of there.
Used this to pick her apart, paint her as uncredible, even cast doubt into whether or not she was involved. Again, I don't think she was. I firmly believe she was a victim. But what I believe...
No, there were 4 victims here. There's only 4. Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogan, Kaylee Goncalves. They're the victims. Dylan is not a victim. Bethany, victim.
And what the defense will use is 2 separate things, and then that makes you wonder what the jurors will think. Besides that, they would also say she's not credible because she was drunk, not credible because she had hallucinations. She said she wasn't sure if she was dreaming.
That is directly from Dylan in the body cam footage.
Why she didn't do anything or call 911. While no one knows what the outcome of the trial would have been, and yes, there was plenty.
Oh, I can tell you exactly what at least the fallout would be. Depends on the jury on whether they think emotionally or logically, which there's no way to know. But if you think emotionally, then you're gonna find him guilty. If you think logically, there's no way you can find him guilty. So the fallout, anyway, would have been a lot of people at MPD getting fired, a lot of people at ISP getting fired, Ortham, the crime lab, would have had serious backlash because of all the blood that was found in the house, and never decided to actually test it to actually figure out who actually did the crime.
Plenty of evidence to nail Bryan Kohberger at the scene and in the house that night, and he admitted to it.
Well, okay, so first of all, he's taking responsibility for it. He's not admitting to it. That is a very key thing to understand here. Second, there is nothing placing Bryan at the house. Nothing. Touch DNA does not put him in the house. It just says that his touch DNA is on the knife sheath, while completely ignoring the blood mixture on the back of the knife sheath.
That doesn't mean that they wouldn't have painted her in a bad enough light to sway the jurors.
It doesn't take Picasso to paint her in a bad light. You don't have to be the next. You don't have to be the next Picasso to pull that one off.
I know that some of the family members did not want this to go to trial, but I can't help but think.
We know We know Steve G and Christy G did. I mean, and this absolutely should have gone to trial.
I think it's a good thing that he took a plea deal.
The only people who think it was a good thing that Bryan took the plea deal are the ones who firmly believe that he was the one that do it. All evidence be damned. So, like, again, the mental gymnastics in this is absolutely insane. You would have to ignore the blood evidence around the house, common logic with the beer pong table, and with Dylan and Bryan, who they believe Bryan, looking face to face. The firecracker going off on the first floor, as Bethany described it. Who knows what that could have actually been? And you would have had to believe that Dylan and Bethany were just Instagram scrolling and job hunting and Snapchatting in their sleep. We know Bethany lied. We know that for a fact. So you'd have to ignore that too. So it's just the amount of mental gymnastics that you have to do for this is utterly insane. So I just wanted to show. I just kind of wanted to show on alternative media, since I showed on mainstream media, the differences and the amount, like I said, the amount of mental gymnastics that you have to go through to believe that Bryan Kohberger was able to do this. On top of ignoring his autism, ASD, OCD, and germophobia. Even if he did do this, it would have had to have been. It wouldn't have been this messy. It wouldn't have been in a messy fashion. His germophobia would not allow him to do this. We saw the prison footage. His hands are raw. So once those can be explained, once all the lies, all the manipulation, all of the garbage police reports that were written up on this can be explained, then I'll start believing. Or if Bryan Kohberger points out where the knife is, and it's there. That's how you'd get me to cross that bridge. But that's not going to happen. It's not coming. So, I'm Dylan Hildreth. This is Hildreth Media. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any racing, football, true crime, and all news. So, and we'll see you in the next one.